everybody. I am doing another car, pick a message, pick a number, pick a card reading in the car. And I wanted to talk about changes you should embrace. Pick a number, pick a card, 1, 2, or 3. Not using cards, I'm just going to go off of my intuition, tell you what changes you should embrace. Okay? So, given that the world is in a state of unrest and everything's up and down and all over the place, I thought that it would be positive to talk about change we should embrace, something that's a positive change in our lives. Because, as you guys know, I predicted back in January that things were going to start escalating more and happening that's going to come to a head. I believe it's 2021 or 2022. I have to double check that, but it's going to come to a head in either a year or two, where the United States makes its full Pluto return based on the birthday of our country. When you have Pluto returns, everything is in upheaval, havoc happens, things are all over the place. And yes, I did say this before the pandemic occurred, if you watch my other videos. And I also said it before the riots. So there's more change to come, so brace yourselves. But it doesn't have to be all bad change. Let's focus on the positive changes in our own life. Hi, how are you, Gigi? So if you chose message number 1, timestamp 128, if somebody wants to put that in the comments for me. If you chose message number 1, the change you need to embrace is balance. I feel like I'm seeing for you, number 1, 2 of Pentacles, 2 of Wands, and number 2, the Lovers. There's something you need to find balance with in your life. So there's some priorities that you need to balance better that maybe you haven't before. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking, Gigi. And there's something that needs to not fall by the wayside, but you need to prioritize a little less than you have been, because there's something that needs your attention. There's something in your life that needs your focus. There's something that needs your consideration. 2 of Pentacles talks about, when it's reversed, it's like you're juggling, right? It can involve deception when you're talking about love relationships, like you're juggling 2 people and they don't know about it. But in the upright, it means you've maintained a balance. You've been able to multitask. You've been able to prioritize what's meaningful to you. So take a step back, everybody who's watching number 1, and figure out what is meaningful to you. What do you want to put more priority on to create a better balance in your life? Because there's something that's imbalanced right now that needs your attention. Okay? If you chose message number 2, I'm seeing for you the Moon, the High Priestess. So those cards represent deep intuition, the secrets and lies we tell ourselves, the secrets and lies we tell others, and the truths that we come to realize because of that, when we realize what stories we've been telling ourselves, what stories we've been telling others. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think in some ways, everybody on earth has lied before, and it's a very ridiculous thing to claim. I've never lied before. I think that's BS. As somebody who does therapy for people, I do believe everybody does. It becomes an illness when you do it so much that you don't even know it's real anymore and it's pathological. But everybody to some extent has lied before. But what number 2 is talking about is the deeper lies that we tell others and ourselves. Not so much those little things, but like the deeper things that we don't want to face, right? And on a deeper level, the High Priestess means, what truths can you recognize in yourself despite the secrets and lies of the Moon? The Moon also means emotional realization, coming to an emotional truth, much like the High Priestess does, but the High Priestess is more powerful in the sense that it's like this deep automatic intuition. So both cards, essentially, without focusing too much on the individual cards, the message that I'm feeling for you is, what truths can you retell your story with, right? If it feels true to you, and this is something that you want to embrace for your life story, then it is true. How are you going to retell your story? What about your story do you want to change, maybe? What lies that you've told yourself or others do you want to change? Like, the most important thing I feel like with this message is, what lies have you told yourself? Not so much somebody asked you if you had pizza yesterday and you felt embarrassed, so you said you had a salad. That's never been an issue with me, but I don't care. But I'm using a stupid example of a dumb lie, right? Something that doesn't really hurt anybody. What I'm talking about more so is these deep things, like What have you been telling yourself over and over and over again? And how do you know that that's really true? How do you know that's really true about you? Is it true? Is it a negative thing you've been telling yourself over and over again? And how can you change that story you're telling about yourself in your life? That's what I want you to examine, because I feel like that could really change your life. And start to try to do some scripting, like write down your name like in the third person. You know, Sue. Sally Sue. I'm, 30 years old. I'm Sally Sue, and I've lived like this my whole life. Your old story, and then shred it up, and then write your new story, how you want it to look in the third person, and read it to yourself. So think about the truths, the stories you tell yourself, the truths you want to be real in your life, and the things you want to let go of that maybe aren't true about yourself. Maybe you say, uh, you know, I don't really think this, but like, let's say you say something to yourself, a story over and over again. I'm dumb, I'm incompetent. That's not very helpful for you. And that's a lie. That's not true. How can you change that around? How can you change it to, I'm successful, I thrive in life. I am a wonderful person, or something positive about yourself. If you chose message number 3, if you want a timestamp, I forgot to do 2, it's 6:10. Message number 3, I feel like your message is the strength and the sun. So your message about what can change or what change you need to embrace is your own inner self-confidence and your belief in yourself and your ability to persevere. These are very masculine energy cards. They represent Aries, Leo. It's about determination, not giving up, putting yourself first. How can you put yourself first? How can you persevere? How can you go towards what you want to do, despite what people say, despite what the world says? If you watch my video the other day, I talk about the emotional abuse of the media and how the media has basically dragged us all through the mud this year, and they should be held accountable for a big part of what they've done. For a big part of what they've done. It's totally irresponsible the way they've reported everything this year. And I really do blame them for a lot of what's happened in this world with the anxiety, the reactions. They're very interconnected with the elite energies that run this world, and they, I feel, are just as responsible as any elite ruling class. The media is just as responsible. They have their hands dirty. How have you been repeatedly told you couldn't do something, you can't do this, by maybe, like I said, the media or other people in your life, maybe even yourself? How many times have you felt afraid or living in fear? How can you embrace the feeling of perseverance, of strength, of determination, of I'm going to do what I can do to protect myself, to keep myself safe, to have faith? That was a Freudian slip. I said faith instead of safe. And to know that things will be better for me and get better for me. I'm not talking about me. I'm saying if I'm you talking. Whenever I say me, I'm talking as if I'm you guys. How can I do that? Despite all these things around me, what am I going to change about my life so I can persevere and thrive in this environment? Because it's about part of my language, but the strength card is about I don't give two fucks what the fuck you think. And the sun card is about I'm going to embrace this happiness. I'm going to embrace something good despite the darkness of the devil reversed. Because the devil upright means it's like Pan in Greek mythology, as I said. So I feel like the devil reversed is the opposite of the sun or the star card. It's this Pan upright isn't so bad. It's about having fun, physical pleasure, monetary pleasure. It's about those earthly ego things, right? The sun is about that as well, and the star is about that as well, but it's also about this sense of enlightenment and just sheer joy, right? Just in being alive. The sun gives life to everything. And the opposite of that is the devil or Pan card reversed, which is the 7 deadly sins. It's not good like when it's upright. It's lust, greed, envy, right? How can you release those things and just embrace the good? How can you release those things that are being projected onto you by some outside forces and embrace the good and say, no matter what, I'm going to try to hold a vibration of, it doesn't have to be all is well when everything around you isn't always well. It doesn't have to be denying reality, but it's saying, despite all that, I'm going to overcome this and I'm going to thrive. I'm going to find a way to thrive and to grow up out of the cement like a flower. I know it's cheesy, but that's the best metaphor I can think of. A rose growing out of a cement. All right. So I hope you guys like this. And I might go back on here at some point. I'm going to get off now. I hope that this came through clear because it looks like it's a bit choppy. And yes, I do readings. If you want to order your own reading, go to naomitarot.com. If you want to see more in-depth royal readings, if you want to see more in-depth Palladian messages, if you want to see more in-depth sign readings, if you want to see things about the pandemic that are very in-depth, go to Patreon. The subscriptions start at $2. They go up to $6. I don't charge much for that. And all of my services I offer for personal readings, astrology charts, life coaching sessions, spirit channeling is on naomitarot.com. Bye, guys, and thank you so much for joining. And thank you, Gigi, for your continued support. And I appreciate all of you who will watch this and who are watching this. Bye-bye.